This week on the Old School RuneScape Update, Wintertodt Changes arrive, introducing warmth. Also, are Mastering Mixology, Hueycoatl, and the Colossal Wyrm Agility course part of a Varlamore early access experiment? We dig in. Finally, we discuss Secrets of the North. This is the Old School RuneScape Update, episode 49, recorded Saturday, October 12th, 2024. Wintertodt and conducting betas. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Old School RuneScape Update. Sirion and myself are here as we are each and every week, and many folks might be wondering where are the mobile client updates. Well, they're not here, but we do have some lovely Wintertodt changes this week, don't we?
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in the delay of the mobile changes. Of course, if they need more time in the oven, I'm all in favor. But the timing of them was perfect. I have this long trip coming up, and it was like, oh, I can enjoy all of the improved client changes while away. But unfortunately, the current timing puts them in the game right after I come back. So it will still be good to have them, and they will still be there for leagues. So a premature sort of apologies to my family for Christmas. I'll be spending time on my phone, grinding away leagues levels, I'm sure.
Or PVM. But, of course, you mentioned leagues. We got a date for that as well. November 27th. It'll run for 8 weeks. More on that a bit later in the show. But in the meantime, if you want to see full show notes, we do have them over at update.show/OS. We also have a community Discord over at update.show/Discord. And we have a friends chatting game that you can find as well at BitsBytes. I am Shane12088, and he is Sirion with a C, not the Apple Assistant sort of thing that gets prematurely activated sometimes when I speak your name.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Not just sometimes, fairly regularly as well.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the watch, sometimes it's the phone. But in any case, Wintertodt Changes. This is actually very timely for me. I know you mentioned that for yourself. You were hoping for the mobile changes before you went away, but as it turns out, one of the last requirements I need to do for the Quest Cape skill requirement list is 75 fire making, and I was waiting and I was hoping that these changes would arrive sooner rather than later, allowing me to go back there and have a much smoothed over experience, and I did. I went from, I think, level 66 fire making to 270 in the span of one evening, and holy cow, it is just so much more smooth, the experience there. That's my finding, at least. Did you have a chance to dip your toes in and see how that went?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get the final piece of Pyromancer's outfit after getting duplicates of not basically everything else, but I got 5 Boomer torches at this point. So I think It's about time that I finally get my Pyromancer's boots. So I tried and did a couple of hours of that earlier. I don't know, I came in prepared with cakes. I was like, oh, that's going to be enough. And I
brought about 6, and yeah, you're right. You don't.
You just don't use them at all, which it definitely makes it a little bit more relaxed, but too relaxed almost maybe. I understand why they went with the balance as they did and all of that, because you want to make sure that the meta, which people did, which is going there at 10 hit points, would still be relevant. But
yeah.
I get now why people say that they want to do it at level 10 hit points, or wanted to, because it's really just free at that point.
Oh yeah, because it was a real pain in the butt, at 77 hit points or whatever I'm at before going in, and realizing that half your inventory has to be food to survive, and now if anything you're using like one bite of cake per run, if that.
Yeah, not even that, right? Once you get the pattern down, at some point I came in there. I had a break at some point, and I decided to just drop the cakes and make some rejuvenation potions, and I think I ended up sipping a few doses, but I don't know. But like it's chill. It's also nice that healing the pyromancer is no longer just a thing people like. They just do that right now. So all in all, it's a much more chill experience. That's true. I wouldn't call it a boss anymore. Like it wasn't really before, and now it definitely just doesn't feel like.
Yeah.
The level of danger has become so passive.
And let's be honest, of the 3 skilling bosses, mechanically wise, it's also probably the least complex out of them too. If you look at Tempros and Zelcano as well, so.
Exactly. I think I like Temporo's balance better, right? Like it's definitely not very punishing either, compared to Wintertodt, because it really just doesn't damage you over time. It just comes down to you just need to finish the boss like fast enough, that to me still there's some challenge in managing that correctly. Whereas in Wintertodt at this point, I feel you almost need to try to die at this point. I feel.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm thinking of 2 things with this boss. The first thing is that what would Jagex have done if the players would have voted no to the changes when they were polled and after they were on the beta? Would they have just abandoned this and left it how it was?
I think they should have at that point.
Because I'm trying to remember. Do you remember where this project to smooth this over came from? Was this a player initiative or was this something Jagex wanted to do?
I mean, it came from player feedback, of course. That
Okay.
But I think this came as part of the minigame quality of life poll. So it was Jagex initiative.
Okay, so I can see the core aspect of the feedback being, hey, do something with warmth so that you're not punished the higher level hit points you are.
I don't actually think it was that initiated by players. I think it was initiated by the fact that there's this weird meta where it's like
you do it at 10
account,
HP.
You rush 50 hit fire making.
Yep.
You rush 99 fire making at Wintertodt, and then you go and trade the rest of your skills. Right? That's just like if that's the way that your game is
not good
meant
design.
to be played, that's just not good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it was very much initiated from that aspect. But yeah, no, I think it's okay.
And the question is it too far?
No, I mean, it is what it is. I think, they could have tried and make their boss a little bit harder, but that would have...
that wouldn't have went over well, given,
The thing is, right, like, there was a viable path to get easy mode Wintertodt before. It was just, you had to hold back from Constitution. And I think the right decision at that point is to just say, okay, let's just give everybody access
that. Yeah, fair enough.
Rather than taking away the easy mode, so...
Yeah, okay. And what we
the biggest thing I learned doing Wintertodt is how reliant I've become on like Runelite plugins that give me AI UI improvement. Sorry,
I thought I was the one who was jumping up and down about all sorts of AI things.
I'm not jumping up and down about it, but the entire world is. So I'm anyway, but like I by default look at my inventory because I have the status bar plugin that shows me my hit points as a vertical bar next to my inventory. That's why I kept looking to look at my hit points. But warmth, of course, is not represented there. So I need to look at the top left. So it was definitely a little bit of an adjustment for me to go there. And to me, it shows how reliant we've become on plugins in the way we do things.
Which is a question as to whether or not that's a good thing, but maybe more on that on a different show later. Two other things I want to talk about in particular with this. I think it's also very interesting that they managed to tie in sources of hit points regen, like Heal Other, Redemption, the regen bracelet, and the hit points cape into the warmth system, which is really just an abstraction away from hit points to warmth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were working, so I had replaced my regen bracelet with my warm gloves, and
Mm.
then I realized it does actually work. I have to decide whether I'm gonna use it going forward, but given that how little food I consume, I think getting the minimal extra XP from the warm gloves is actually better.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of warm clothing, they added a bunch of other things that now count as warm clothing, like the wolf masks, earmuffs, cap and goggles, the woolly bauble jester and tri-jester hat. But you know what my favorite thing about training at Wintertodt is? It's that I get to wear my Santa outfit when it's not Christmas
God, you're
time.
one of those. Oh, you're one of those.
See, typically I bring it out after Remembrance Day. But
Yeah.
training at Wintertodt, that's a reason to just wear it right now.
Well, once you have the Pyromancer's outfit, you get like an XP bonus with Pyromancer.
I know.
So
I know.
You're gonna have to pick between Fashionscape and better XP. But yeah.
But hey, Fashionscape and Warm is going hand in hand here, so I'll take it as it is. But no, overall, I was glad to see these arrive this week, and I feel like this is something that the game is needed on the whole. And you know, you can get down to the full philosophical thing about whether or not it was a good decision or not. But
the update to the Bruma Torch, where you can now have an offhand version, also it was paying dividends in my Wintertodt.
Oh yeah.
Now I have an offhand tinderbox basically, as well.
Yeah, that's big, and that came when they did the saw and all the other ones.
And exactly,
right,
exactly. So that's been great as well. Like my inventory, like I'm still trying to maximize points, so I'm still having a knife on my inventory for fletching. But once I get the full Pyromancer's outfit and I go full XP mode, I don't have to fletch anymore. So at that point, it's like a hammer, a couple of potions, and the rest is just there for logs. It's a game changer, honestly. Like it's all one inventory slot at a time, but it just adds up.
Yeah. Now, you're a fan of fire making.
The idea of it, yes.
Yeah. So how does this feel to you that you theoretically could just stay and train fire making from 50 to 99 at Wintertodt? That this is one of the preferred fire making training methods. How does that feel being outside of like this, just the general fire making elements that are in the game? And I realize this is adjacent to our Wintertodt discussion, but I think the changes that were put in this week just solidify that so much more so.
I think it's unfortunate that there's really only one viable way to train fire making. That I think is the biggest regret. I don't mind it so much, but like for fishing, you have temporos, but you can also do barbarian fishing, whether you do that with ticks or not. Or if you want something more AFK, you can do monkfish or sharks, right? Like, many of these options are in one way or another viable. Same with Runecraft, right? Where you have Guardians of the Rift, but you can also do Day Out Essence with the Blood Altar. ZMI is still very viable. Even nature running to an extent is probably. So it's unfortunate to me that there are just no viable alternatives to fire making. I mean, I know that there's the it's not called bonfires.
Campfires.
Like they're an option if you want something really, really AFK. And line fire making isn't bad XP.
But it doesn't compete with Wintertodt, and
it just doesn't compete
more
with
cumbersome.
Yeah, so I think it's unfortunate because it erodes the skill a little bit. But the skill is already in a pretty bad place because you just don't get many benefits out of it either. So I think it sort of needs a combination of the both of them to become relevant. But
okay, that's kind of what I was wondering there. But moving on from Wintertodt, also this week, they made an interesting post about the server maintenance recently, and going forward, there will be no downtime during game updates except for major content launches. So the game will reboot at 11:30 BST, following a 45-minute timer, and then there will be no downtime after that, except for the usual 1 to 2 minutes for allowing the servers to reboot. So that's what that was for.
No more wasted herb runs that I can't do.
I thought they were taking. I just thought they were taking backups in that time after the server went down. I thought that's what was happening.
It might be that they did, but that they have now found a way to do live backups.
Okay, but
right,
yeah,
they might now have an ability to take backups while the game is running, because normally you want the game to be offline because backups.
Yeah.
We could talk about this
state.
Exactly, but it might be that they've upgraded the infrastructure to make that possible. In which case, great.
Yeah, they say you may have noticed there's been a lot of maintenance recently, and while there's still more work to do, thanks to our continued efforts in improving our infrastructure, there will be no downtime during game updates. So you can either read into that like the maintenance was being done there, or maybe it was something backup related. But you do have to give the entirety of Jagex credit for this across both OS and RS3, because I feel like since the pandemic, this is just something that the entire company has started taking a little bit more seriously in terms of their infrastructure.
The server infrastructure must be ancient at this point.
Yeah, well, my understanding of it is that they spin up instances and multiple servers run on the same physical server box, so to speak. And when you get down to it at the core, as though RS3 moved away from Java in 2016, we have a prototype C++ client now, and there's mobile, which is definitely not Java. My understanding of it is that the servers are actually still running on Java, and the original as configuration is kind of they were intended way back when.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that per se, because Java is one of the languages that's most widely used, isn't it, across
it's very common, and it's also still being actively updated, right? New versions of Java come out every year, I think, or so.
Well, it's the main language for Android programming as well, right?
Exactly, that's why it's used a lot. But yeah, just servers in Java are pretty commonplace in the industry. So.
Yeah, so it's just a question of what kind of updates around those have been done as well, and I feel like we've just got a myriad of client and server updates since the pandemic, and we're probably just starting to see the benefits of all that. So that's just a fun little thing to note with this week's update. But also this week, Mastering Mixology got some changes again. I was surprised to see this in the patch notes. Were you?
It wasn't announced, or at least we hadn't seen where it was announced if it was. So yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise to me. I like the change though. So basically now if you hand in multiple potions at once, you either get 20% or 40% if you hand in all three of them. So I really like that. I think it discourages pure cherry picking a little bit more. So it's more in spirit of just make the potions that actually align. So I like it.
Yeah, and in particular, 20% bonus for submitting 2 potions in one go, 40% bonus for submitting 3, and just in general, I feel like we've got to a point over the last 2 to 3 weeks where we're probably at where this should have launched at in terms of just looking at the costs and just the general smoothing of things out, let's say. So
yeah, and that's interesting, right? It there's only so much you can do in terms of playtesting to get to this point, because to really get a sense of how it feels, you need to spend a lot of time in it, and obviously if you're developing this feature, you just can't spend dozens of hours just playing it.
Right, and also if you're on the dev account, you don't have the pressure on you of realizing that, these
Yeah.
sort of herbs might be a little bit more difficult to come by, so it's going to make getting this ingredient a little bit more cumbersome.
Yeah. So that raises the question, right? Because like there's a chance that similar things might happen when making changes to Guardians of the Rift or Wintertodt, right? Which we both saw betas for. Should there be betas for features like this?
I feel like these changes for Mastering Mixology are too small to put in a beta, and the number of people who have experienced the content probably don't have the ability to pass judgment on it as of yet.
Not the changes, Mastering Mixology itself.
Oh, like should there have been a beta for Varlamore Part 2?
Specifically the mixology, yeah.
Okay.
Like I can see the arguments for not doing it, right? Because it's part of a big thing and you want people to experience it on launch. But the problem is if it's the launch experience is pretty shitty in a sense.
But also keep in mind they did telegraph the entire gameplay loop and how this minigame was going to work in the blog for it. So putting it out there really wouldn't, I think, have harmed anyone in that same lens.
No, or you could make it a closed beta, right, and just limit the audience a little bit. You get less feedback that way, but it still might. I don't know. Like that's like what I was thinking, because it feels a little bit like it launched in almost like a pre-release. It's like what do you call games that are not launched yet? Is it pre-release?
Yeah, pre-release, early access.
Early access, yeah, that's the word. Like that's a little bit how Wintertodt felt when it came out, right? Like you see like all of those changes. I don't know. Like
That's how Wintertodt felt when it came out?
I don't know how Wintertodt felt when it came out.
Yeah, you just said that's probably how Wintertodt felt when it came out.
Oh, yeah. See,
oops. You mean Mastering Mixology?
Yeah, that's how. No, Varlamore is what I was trying to refer to. I like Varlamore as a whole. Like Huey had the same trouble, right? Where it got tweaked a lot. At least the rewards. And the question is,
I'll actually work that in right now, because that's the interesting thing, is that the Huey changes that were in this week are drop rate changes, and as a result of this really makes the boss feel better to do in terms of, just changing a few rates like that. And I think that's a simpler change to make than the Mastering Mixology changes that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think ultimately the question comes down to like how do we want to think about releases like these in the future, right? Like obviously the Varlamore ones are big bangs, but they just lack the level of polish. Like I feel these big expansions come out, and you should really
Batch 2 felt less polished than Batch 1.
That's true, but I even then, like we saw changes to
the Hunter rumors.
The Hunter rumors, and we saw significant changes to the Colosseum with the power-ups and the random choice, right? Like they removed a whole bunch of things and changed things around. The moons got quite badly rebalanced, especially the Blood Moon, because it felt too punishing. Like it almost feels like you have the better experience just ignoring these updates for a month, let them cook a little bit, and then play them when they're ready, which is kind of unfortunate because there's never really a moment where Jagex says, okay, it's out of quote unquote early access now, we're now quite happy where it sits, now go play it. Because I think if you would almost have like a soft launch and a big launch of these features, you get the early adopters, you get the feedback that you still get right now, and then you have another moment where the rest of the players come in and they get to experience it as it was intended.
Well, isn't that going to be leagues for the people who choose Varlamore as a region?
I suppose. But I think it's different. I think it's different engaging with a different piece of content because it just got released, or engaging with a piece of content because you just unlocked it on your as part of your account progression.
Right. Okay.
And like, there is something nice about doing these quests and doing this
it
content.
poses an issue.
While there are like 500 people that are doing it, right? There is something about experiencing it with at the same time as all the other people. That adds a certain energy to these updates. So it's unfortunate that if you want to do that, you're gonna experience a worse version of the content.
And I guess that's why Jagex gets all the memes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you lose either way, right? Like, you delay it, that's problematic. You put it out in this form, it's problematic. You put a beta out in front of it and let people pre-experience it. Oh, people are gonna, have a better experience on what to do in day one. So I don't necessarily see the way you win with this, unfortunately. I do want to touch on one other thing before we move on from Mastering Mixology. I found a plugin on week 1 that was kind of rough around the edges, but you, this week, have found out that plugin has been updated.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I have seen the first version of it, but it looks like it now highlights the levers. It should also highlight the machine. It should highlight the machine that you need to use to process the potion. I think it. I haven't actually had the chance to try it because before I got a chance to try it, we went and did some questing. More on that later. It should also highlight when you should click it to do the speed up and get the bonus XP. So, all of that. It's basically similar to the Giants Foundry plugin you can get.
Exactly. And again, I don't necessarily know how to feel about these plugins after doing a week of, heavy RS3 theory crafting and, production on that. But hey, we'll just take it as it is. Okay. Mastering Mixology and Huey, we talked about. There were also some changes to the Wyrm Agility course. Again, tweaking and buffing rates around the edges.
This is interesting because we talked about this. Was it last week or the week before that?
Yeah.
Where we talked about how
we
it
thought the
felt
XP was fine.
The XP was low, but like this was the thing you did if you wanted to get the money. So now you get the money and the XP. It might actually be,
but it's
a really
not that much of an XP increase.
No, I guess not. What might be interesting is this might slightly edge past the Sis Village one, which I think is interesting. Especially because you can get like 2 versions of the Sis Village one, right? The one with and without the Heart Diary unlocked. And I think it would be amazing if this one sat sort of between those 2 numbers.
I should test that. I should test that because that's where my agility was last time I looked at this. So, yeah, it's about a 10% XP increase for completing the entire course here for that. And for each obstacle, that's been increased by about 13%. And they say this should increase the XP on the advanced course from about 40 to 44k XP an hour.
Okay, and let me double check where this is Village.
I feel like Sears is more.
Sis, where are you? Sis Village Rooftop Course. Where does it say so? 46k per hour actually at maximum efficiency.
At maximum
56
efficiency.
And 56k per hour if you use the bank teleport. So this puts it quite close to it, but doesn't quite beat it. But that still gets compensated for the amazing number. Like, you get even more Amylase crystals because they boosted the termite drops as well. So I still think it's a pretty great option.
Okay, so maybe
if you want.
Maybe you go here then just because of the lower click rate too. Then
that's part of it. I think that's part of it. I think you don't get Marks of Grace, but you get the termites. So I think it sits in a really nice
And
place right now. And
okay, so before we said this is just where you go if you want the termites or what have you, or the to get the crystals. But I feel like now there's a competitive choice at that level bend.
Yep.
Which I think is what you want to do. You want to create those aspects of the game where you can choose between two things to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess if there's anything this week that did I guess go off without a hitch, it is the Wyrm Agility course.
Sure.
Changes. So
yeah.
I don't know. You know what part of my mind is, and we'll talk about this later, is that after getting Quest Cape, I should just click and run agility courses and get untrimmed agility. I'm still thinking about that from time to time. Anyways.
I would like to see you try. I think at this point, given how many herb runs I'm doing, I would need to either stop doing those, or I would need to really ramp up my agility training if I want to get untrimmed agility, because yeah, I might just get the farming cape accidentally.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on into of course the topic of the week that everybody was looking for, and we were wondering what's happening with leagues. Well, November 27th, it will run for 8 weeks. We thought it was going to be 6 based on what was initially kind of put out, but it's going to be 8, just like the last one was.
Yeah, it suits me just fine, to be honest. It suits me just fine. I think it also suits me fine that it's a little bit later than before, and they might have coordinated that with the RS3 team to like push it away from the Group Ironman launch. On that
yeah, because we were initially anticipating that these two things would launch at late November, and the RS3 side did make it so that Group Ironman is launching at the end of October now, so there is going to be a little bit less competition between the two, because folks might not be aware that Varlamore Batch 2 actually launched on the week that RS3 got its second skilling boss. So there was some conversation in circles about whether these games should be competing with each other on that and whatnot, but.
I don't know how many players actually play both games though. These two, like Varlamore Batch 2 and the Skilling Boss, you both need to have already progressed accounts to,
and quite extensively for the Skilling Boss.
Exactly. Whereas for leagues, you start fresh, and Group Ironman, you basically start fresh. So that's much more competing than actual updates. So, because like last year, league started on the 15th of November, so it's definitely later in the year than last time. But yeah, no, it suits me. I actually could have gone earlier, I think.
No, I actually think this is a better timetable, because what it means is that you can get a November headliner out for old school, and then you can just have the Christmas update come out, and then everybody's free to focus on leagues. Because what I felt last year on old school leagues was that I was at the meantime as well wanting to do other things in the main game at the same time. So
yeah, like what was I forget what the update was, but I remember indeed there being like an update just before or after league started, and that does make things a little bit awkward. This is nice. Like this hits right over the holiday period where things slow down anyway. It's also nice because last time I think it was until like the 10th of January, which is this awkward like 2 weeks into the new year, and now you get like the solid month of January. So there's less of a dangly bit at the end, which is I felt leagues stopped having momentum around like the end of the calendar year. Like I think people sort of wound down for Christmas, and then people didn't really get back into leagues, and now there's more of a reason to get back into it after all of the turkey has been consumed and all of the fireworks has been shot.
Oh, we had a fun conversation about turkey and whatnot in pre-show.
Yeah, that's why I mention it. So I like it. I think it's good. I still am skeptical that it's very similar to the previous time. I really hope the echoes completely over. overthrow the meta. But
Yeah, we need more information about the echoes, and in particular how progression is going to work with the difference between relics and the combat mastery system.
yeah, but definitely now that we like, I think both you and I, like, maybe tell me if I am not speaking for you. We know the game much better. We know what's important.
Yeah.
We sort of know what high level drops and items exist. So I feel a lot more equipped to do theory
To know,
crafting this
yeah,
time, so.
exactly. And despite all my bitching and moaning about the combat system and whatnot, there's still an aspect of me that wants to give this a go. And I feel like this has been said before on the show, but the number one thing I regret from last year was doing a bastardized version of my regions and not meta-slaving over it. So if I do it this year, I will be looking into where all the echoes and where everything lands, and I will be going with the meta options.
Yeah?
That will make me happier this time.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know yet what I'll be doing. I would definitely stick with, what's the content I like doing? What's the content that I enjoy doing most?
Well, there's a caveat to that. I won't do anything that puts me into candering because,
Yeah, no, but that's really, like, I think my last region I ended up picking based on, because, like, I think Asgania was quote unquote the meta choice.
Yeah, you should have went for it. It was very powerful.
But then I looked at the tasks I needed to do there, and I'm like, I don't feel like doing it.
It was a lot of God Wars.
It was a lot of God, and I just didn't care for it. And then I looked, and I looked at Tyrannway, and I was like, Gauntlet, yes, Sora, yes. Like, these are the things I want to try.
And to be fair, I thought the exact same thing about Tyrannon, but I did an afternoon of Zulrah, I did an afternoon of Zulcano, I did an afternoon of Gauntlet, and then I never went back.
That's fair enough.
So,
I'm still enjoying the hilarious way I trained my smithing and crafting to 99 in leagues, which is pickpocketing for a few hours with the amazing relic to get like a ton of crystal shards, and then just repeatedly assembling and disassembling crystal bows. Like, this is one of those training methods that will never.
It only works in leagues.
Exactly. And I'm so glad I got to experience that.
And what I want to say here at this point, folks, two more things on leagues. All the reward item polls have passed. And do let us know what you want to hear for leagues content, because last year, most of you guys weren't here at that point in time. So that's one angle of it. But the other one is that we were telling mid-level stories about how we're bumbling and fumbling as two relatively still, early to low mid-level OS players of leagues, whereas now we have moved into the higher mid-tier parts of the game and, touching high level at this point. So let us know what you guys want for leagues content. In terms of, just things that you want to hear. Do you want us to do deep dives on certain things? Do you want more analysis? Do you want to, hear our personal experiences? Let us know in the comments, YouTube or Discord or wherever you listen to the show. Please do let us know. That would make us feel very good at this point. So,
and if there's any particular achievement you think we should go for in leagues that you would love to hear about, let us know as well.
Yes. Okie dokie.
What do you think of the rewards? I don't know if you've even talked about the rewards on the show yet. Oh, you love them. I can hear it. I can hear the enthusiasm about these amazing rewards.
Here's the deal. None of these rewards speak to me. And if I do leagues, I will be doing it on an account that is not connected to my main and not connected to the RS3 group Ironman that is spawning up, because that was another thing that really annoyed me last year. Is I made the decision to do it on my main, which made it so that if I wanted to AFK woodcutting, I couldn't do that. If I wanted to AFK fishing, I couldn't do that. So that is a mistake that's not going to be happening. But I looked at the league's reward posts, and there's just nothing here that speaks to me. I like the colors of them. I do. but there's nothing here that I want. And that's
Yeah.
why if I do leagues this year, it can't be about the rewards. It's got to be about experiencing some combat thing or engaging in the power fantasy. If I was to get 2 rewards from this, it would be the arms override and the POH overrides for the portal and Nexus and Spirit Tree.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm likewise, the rewards really don't speak to me that much. I really like the previous one because it was very fire making focused, so I guess yeah, that's really nice. But likewise, I don't really care for any of the aesthetic hits. Which is fine. I might just use my points to get some of the older rewards because I didn't get to experience those.
Yeah,
right?
the cannon one is very nice, by the way, if you use cannons at all.
Yeah, the cannon one is nice. I've seen a few other ones that are pretty cool, so I might do that. I might also just figure out what gets me the most GP and sell that. That's another option.
Like that's what I did. That's what I did for mine. The only thing I picked up for myself out of all the points I got in the last one was the blowpipe ornament kit.
Oh, I didn't even get that one.
Which is weird because when you do the spec on it, it sends a bolt of fire out.
Oh, maybe I should get that and this year. No, I got myself. I think I got like the Trailblazer carpet for my house. I got the full outfit, tier 3 outfit, because I love that.
I also got the home port and the high alchemy.
I got those 2. Those are pretty awesome. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we do. I will do it on my main. I will play it on my main because there's now a Leagues Hall in my POH, and there is 1 trophy, and that trophy needs a friend. That trophy needs a friend, and ideally another dragon one. So that's going to be my goal, getting a dragon trophy. And then, like, I still have an Iron Man that I haven't really gotten around to playing, so I will have options to do things in parallel anyway.
Right. Right. And I didn't have that last year, so there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So what have we been doing? That's where that goes next. And, we'll start with the questing update. As folks might have seen, I mentioned the combat system and the UI and yada, 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 but we're going to talk about Secrets of the North right now. And, as much as I complain about the combat system, this is easily one of my top 5 OSRS quests, OSRS native quests, Secrets of the North.
Yeah, I thought it was very good. As well, it had, to me, when we talked about the Varlamore quest, I said like how
please
it felt,
let's not go back to those.
How it was like too isolated. Like within one quest, you were either fetch questing or you were isolated to a small area. This quest did both really well and like an element.
My favorite thing about Secrets of the North, in addition to the lore, is that it wasn't a quest that needed half an inventory of items to do. It was literally lore piecing together effectively the murder. Then you have a puzzle, then you have a combat. That's just the right mix for me in terms of where everything was going to land with this, if I'm being honest. Because, there's been so many other quests that we've done where you got to bank so many times, bring half an inventory of this, half an inventory of that, and then you're not even, left fulfilled with the story at the end of it. And I'm trying to think about where I'm going to put this on my list. I feel like right now, just looking at old school quests, in terms of what's in my head, I still hold Garden of Death very high up there, probably in like the number 1 range, just because of what it did in terms of using the environment to quest. I'm thinking this is number 2 or number 3.
What would it compete with for the number 2 spot?
Temple of the Eye, maybe?
That was a pretty good quest as well. I don't think that's my top.
No.
My second favorite one, though.
Mistland Mystery?
No, that's definitely not up there for me.
Okay.
But that's also because I've done that quest 3 or 4 times now.
Right.
I'm mostly annoyed by it at this point.
Well, there's quest helper for that after you've done it once or twice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think. I mean, it's quite hard. I mean, for me, a ribbiting till needs to be up there.
Okay.
Like, honestly,
that's top 5.
Honestly, yeah, that's honestly up there. I
Hey,
think that's
folks, after we finish our questing adventures and when we get very close, would you like an old school quest tier list?
Or maybe a top 10. We can make
or
a top 10.
10.
Yeah.
But no, this
top 10 and bottom 5, right?
Bottom 5 rat catchers.
Yeah.
But no, this quest is very good. And
I think for me, Song of the Elves is up there.
Yeah, that's right.
That might be the second spot for me. But I think Secrets of the North, like, it captured the same energy, just on a much smaller scale.
And it's also fun just knowing a little bit more about the Majorat lore, going into this, being able to read between the lines of everything that's happening with the questions of what exactly is up north. Oh, it's a ritual site. Ah, yes, but if you read into the wider RS lore, you know exactly what a ritual site is for. Oh, why are the Majorats getting a little uppity? Ah, yes, it's been a while since they've had a ritual, and you can just see the different ways that the OSRS team is heading towards what will eventually be something adjacent to RS3's Ritual of the Majorat. I think they've said that it won't be Ritual of the Majorat, but it'll be something unique to old school that fills the same spot.
I think the build-up they're doing is so much better, right? We still get Desert Treasure 2, which I think will probably feed into Ritual of the Majorat.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is, of course, Secrets of the North that we've done now. There's Walgothic Sleeps, which was copied. But, like, it feels that area of lore is much better fleshed out, and they're just taking their time in establishing. Yeah. Because that's, like, that was more of the thing with RS3, right? When they released Ritual of the Majorat. Yeah, we've met many, like, some of the characters, but most of the Majorat, you really... like, you'd only seen them in, like, Hueycoatl or something similar to that, right?
Yeah.
Or Lucian from
And to be fair, when Ritual of the Majorat came out, Jagex was still very much a junior studio out there and wasn't really able to, pull off blockbuster quests. And,
yeah, exactly.
I don't say that to take anything away from the great quests that came from that era. It's just the quest that's produced in, the modern era is very different. And this one came out in 2023, Secrets of the North did.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about the puzzle, because I used the guide for the puzzle, and it was a very interesting experience hearing you work through it.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to do these things myself. I'm not a spacebar person, or I try not to be. And this one was just right to me as well. I had a lot of fun. I liked how interconnected the puzzle was. Like, you found some hints, you used them together, but then you reused the same hints, and all of that just felt right. There were a few misdirects in there, so a few dead ends that I followed, and I had to look at the guy like, hey, what am I missing? Oh, I didn't search that particular crate in that particular room, right?
And then that fills in the missing spot.
But that's the downside. Like, it's pixel hunting, I think, is what some people called it.
Yeah.
So that's the downside. But all in all, I think it was a very not a hard puzzle necessarily, but I think it hit the right balance in combining different sources. And a really cool thing is that it's really not just one step, right? You actually had to combine like 3 different pieces of information to get, like, you get a list of dukes, but they're not full names. Then you get a list of names for the duke in a different order, but combined with a special symbol. So you put the dukes in the other one in the right order, then you put the symbols in the right order, and then you use like a third document which allows you to turn the symbols into letters, and then that gives you the clue on how to open a lock, right? It definitely required me to take out some pen and paper. I tried doing the puzzle in what was the quest again? The desert one. Beneath Cursed Sands. Also in the top 5, maybe, probably.
Interesting. I would not put that in the top 5 of quests.
That puzzle in there, I think it was that puzzle that I tried doing, was a little bit too obscure and difficult for me.
Right. And see, that's the thing that really gets us to a point where it's a damn near perfect quest, is that you have the discovery part of it, you have the lore part of it, then you have the puzzle part, which went off without a hitch, and then you have the combat part, which went off without a hitch for half of us.
I wouldn't say without a hitch. I definitely took a few tries.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a complicated fight. I know what I'm doing wrong with it, and part of it is that I forgot I had my keybind set up on my mouse, and there was that, and I was suffering from cognitive decline at the time. Yeah, because I was very tired. So, yeah.
No, exactly, and but I think the boss difficulty is I think it's the perfect difficulty for a quest boss. I'd like to see bosses like this more. I also like that each of the sort of chapters of the quest was very sort of almost like there was 3 fights in the quest, right? And each of them sort of was the end of a chapter. So it adds some structure to the quest as well.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. But definitely can recommend Secrets of the North. But in terms of other, just general things about what we've been up to, as you've mentioned, for me, I've been very busy this week. I put my nose down to the paper, and I knocked out 2 of the 3 last remaining quest cape requirements. Those, of course, being level 69 Slayer, which I'm glad to be done with.
I bet.
I know what my favorite Slayer tasks are nowadays, which is neat from Neve. They are Dust Devils, Calphites, and Dagonoths.
Dust Devils, do you...
Ice.
No, but do you use the stacking approach?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, then they're lovely.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite Slayer moments. I only got 1 task of that so far.
I know, same. And I've been waiting for them to come since I hit 65, but... yeah, definitely, and I think Dust Devils are great for magic training too.
The moment I finished that quest, I was like, "This is fun," and I used the few Slayer points I had to buy the extension, so all my future Dust Devil tasks are longer.
No, that's neat. See, I used my Slayer points for canceling a few tasks and blocking 1. So I think I have around 110 points presently right now.
Okay. I don't think I've cancelled any task yet, so I've been pretty lucky not getting terrible tasks at least.
What I have done is that I have started to work up to a point where my block list will have things that are blocked, like the Iron and Bronze Dragons. I have canceled Sukas before. I would like to block them next time they come up, but I didn't have the points to do it at the time, and those are the sort of things that were on the block list. But I also ran into and discovered that there are those 2 bracelets. There's the one bracelet that allows you to make it so that kills don't count, so you in effect get double Slayer XP for some of the kills out there. So that one's neat. And then there's the one that does the reverse that gives you double credit for kills too. So I did lean into that as well. And sadly, I only found out about that on my second to last day of Slayer training.
I haven't really been using them, and I know it's a stupid thing to do. Like, from what I can tell, you should basically be using always one or the other, right? Like, either you're doing a good task and you want it to last as long as you can, or you're doing a bad task and you want it to be over as quickly as you can. So there's really no reason you should ever not be using either of these 2.
Yeah.
I'm just lazy, I guess, but if I ever get seriously back into Slayer, that's probably something I will I would consider.
Yeah, the Bracelet of Slaughter and the Expeditious Bracelet, they are called, for anybody wondering. But aside from that, I spent all the time I want to at Guardians of the Rift for the time being, hit 60 rune crafting, and then the next bit is just wrapping up 75 fire making at Group Iron Man, not at Group Iron Man, jeez, at Wintertodt. And that will be about a movie's worth of combat training time, and then that's the quest cape requirements done. But that's been me.
Yeah, busier than me, to be honest. I've been so busy lately. So I, besides my herb runs, haven't been doing much. I did go back trying, like I said earlier, to Wintertodt, trying to get my final piece of Pyromancer's outfit. Finally, please, can I get it now? Complaining always works, right?
No.
Oh. After that, besides that, honestly, not much. Really not much to tell.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the point we get to at this time of year, and, honestly, at this point of account progression, too. And we knew we'd get to that point, and it's interesting, just watching over the last year, how things have moved like that. So, but...
I did the buying spree to get me enough of the resin or the paste, I think is the word, for the potion storage. So I have that lined up to
good.
Go. Yeah, I have that lined up to go. I actually seem to have the herbs I needed for that just randomly in my bank, unless my math is completely off. I need to. I hope not. But I was like, this is not. I don't need that many herbs. Is my maths completely off? And I triple checked it, and it still looks fine. So unless I'm misinterpreting something from the wiki page, I think I'll be good for the foreseeable future. At that, so I'll be trying that out in the coming week. I think. My goal is, like I said, I would like to get the potion storage, but also I'm like 2 levels of 81, which unlocks the mix a lot. So that would be a nice milestone as well.
Right on. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of our prepared remarks for this week. If you guys do have comments, questions, anything like that, do leave them in the episode comments on YouTube or in Discord. We're always happy to hear about those. Let us know what you think about leagues. But, if you want to hear the show each and every week, the best way to do that is to subscribe. We're on all the major podcasting platforms out there. Just head on over to update.show/OS and then tap on your favorite one, and it will bring you to something like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Pocket Casts, and of course also YouTube as well, youtube.com/OSRS update. But anything else, Sirion, before we go? Anything about turkeys? Anything else about holidays?
No, I think we've covered that enough.
Yeah, and the reason I mentioned that is it is Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. Obviously, we do ours a bit earlier than the Americans, and well, we'll let Sirion discuss another day what he thinks about Thanksgiving and what the Dutch do on those sorts of holidays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty then. Well, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Old School RuneScape Update. See you then, everyone. Take care.
Bye.